So it turns out the Bucs did something with Baker Mayfield's contract. They just didn't extend it. So, Steve, I saw an athletic story the other day, and it got me all excited because of its headline, which was talking about how the Bucs want to extend Baker Mayfield's contract, anxious to, that sort of thing. And I immediately thought, wow, that seems a little soon, because he just did his 3-year, $100 million deal a year ago in March. And then as I read further, Jason Light was quoted as saying, when the time is right, we want to make sure that Baker is here and extend his contract, blah, blah, blah. So it really wasn't like anything was imminent. When you start talking about when the time is right and a guy that still has 2 years left on a 3-year deal, then clearly you're saying the time is not just quite right. However, they did do something to Baker Mayfield's contract, which should make him very happy. And that is that his third season of his 3-year, $100 million contract, none of that was previously guaranteed. And so he has a $40 million base salary that final year, and they have gone ahead and guaranteed $30 million of it. So presumably without prompting, I mean, I don't know that this was like initiated by an agent or anything, but they have at least given, some injury guarantees, guaranteed salary in that final year in 2026 to Baker Mayfield, which is nice. You don't see
isn't
teams
there some salary cap relief too, though, for the Bucs?
Of course, yeah, of course there is, because if you pay stuff forward like that, then you can, amortize it, and I'm sure it'll change the salary cap number. So it's not a totally unselfish act, but it's something they didn't have to do, right? They didn't have to do it, and when you have a season on your deal, I always look at things like this. If it's 3 years, $100 million, and the final year is not guarantee, I'm like, yeah, it's $2 million. It's 2 years, $66 million. Now just take the guarantee and divide it by the number of years, and that's really what the contracts are. In the NFL, this year there was a big sort of a brouhaha because they typically don't guarantee the entire contracts of second rounders. They do it in the first round, but in exchange for that, clubs get a 5th-year club option. But this year, the first 2 picks of the second round got guaranteed deals by the Texans and Cleveland Browns. And so all the second rounders said, well, I want that. I want my whole deal guaranteed too. And it didn't work out that way, but a lot more guaranteed money went through that round. So, football is just like that. Like, when you read these numbers, again, all that matters in a sport that has as many injuries as this one does is what they're willing to guarantee.
Well,
So,
and that's what, like Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati, that's the issue there. The Bengals, with the exception now of Burrow and Chase, never guarantee money past the first year of a deal.
Which is crazy, right?
And Henderson's got this year. He wants another, but he wants more guaranteed money, and that's what they've been unwilling to do to this point.
Right.
And for a guy like that, you would think they would, but like you said, it's only been Burrow and Chase are the only two they've gone past that.
Yeah, and the Browns are one of those old families, old school families that just don't believe in it. And I, when I saw the Green Bay Packers money come out and they were pulling down some $480 million in designated gross revenues, does not include franchise value, obviously, and things like that. I used to believe, and I was sold this when I first started covering the team 100 years ago, and it was like we don't guarantee contracts now. It's there's no fully guaranteed NFL contract. I was kind of like, well, why? And the explanation was, well, because it's a collision sport, you have too many injuries. If you start guaranteeing contracts, then all of a sudden you're not going to have enough money to field a team. And maybe that was true when the revenues were, $16 million a year or something like that, or the payroll. But now when guys are pulling down $500 million every year, in revenue, I think there's plenty of money to divide up. I don't think it's that difficult, with the practice squad players and the expanded rosters and things like that, to guarantee more contracts, if not all of them. Now, that'll be for the next CBA, but they have plenty of money. They really do have plenty of money. And you would think, if you play that sport, hey, I have the shortest career, 3.5, 4 years. I'm accepting the fact that I could be putting my health at risk and CTE and different things like that. And that's something they willingly agree to do. But it is a shorter career on average than, say, baseball or basketball or hockey or some one of those. So why shouldn't they be guaranteed? That's another topic for another time. But at any rate, for Baker Mayfield, this is acknowledgement, sort of, that you mean a lot to us. We have our own selfish reasons, like you said, salary cap and otherwise. But we're going to go ahead and guarantee a third year with before you even play this next year under the current contract. And even having said that, his $33 million per year average that he has right now, that's ranked 19th among starting quarterbacks, and he's clearly, I think, at this point, a top 10, top 11, 12 starting quarterback in the NFL.
No question. And it's locking up and giving him peace of mind to the most important position on the field. And
Absolutely.
the person that controls the game and is really, that position has to perform if you want a chance at the Super Bowl.
I love you said peace of mind, because I think that's what it is for Baker,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, who approached him on this. It could have been Baker's agent, could have been the Bucs, who knows? But the willingness for them to do it is exactly what they gave him. Look, he came here on a $4 million make it contract, right? $4 million. You can't typically get a serviceable backup quarterback in this league. They're usually making $6, $7, $8, $9 million. He came here for $4 million, accepted the rhetoric, at least, that he had to compete for the starting job with Kyle Trask, won the job, then went out there and, had as good a year as he's had in football to that point, and then followed it up with a career year with 4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns. And, over the last 2 years, he's thrown more touchdown passes than anybody in football. I mean, it's incredible. So he certainly earned it. He's come a long way. We know all that stuff that went, has allegedly gone down between, him losing $12 million, asking a court for where it would be. It was invested with a firm that involved his brother and his dad, like, just, kind of horrific stuff on its surface. But at least now, Mayfield has the peace of mind, and just talking to him, I think their long term plans are they're going to be in Tampa. They love it here. This has become their home after bouncing around to 4 different cities in 18 months. And those players love him. Now, he's going to be 30. Can he stay healthy? That's going to always be a test for Baker, because he's not the biggest, strongest, fastest guy, and he does throw his body around. But I think it's I haven't seen the Bucs kind of do this, and the fact that they did it for this player. Now it may or may not lead a stampede to the GM's office. If I've got my last year, my contract's not guaranteed, I might want to roll up there and say, "Yo, how about me?" And that's a risk you take when you set this precedent. But he is a quarterback, and they got a below market deal for him, and yet I don't think that it was about the money when Baker signed it the first time. I mean, he made so much more than he had made previously in his career, and like I said, he had that deficit, that the money that he invested with the firm that his dad and his brother ran. So, like, this was a big deal for him to get $100 million, and his next deal is, as we know, they all get higher and higher each time somebody signs one. So after this season, I could see them, even though the third year is already on the books as guaranteed, they could keep that, and I could see them extending it by a few years. And when I say a few, I mean many. So his next deal, I think, is going to be north of $50 million, probably closer to 60 than 50.
I would guess. I mean, now you're 2 years out from that, essentially, at this point, or at least when
Exactly.
he doesn't
Yeah,
have guaranteed money. So
that's
knowing
right.
that 60 is the market now,
Yeah,
the
might be
cap's probably
70
going
for
to
top.
the
Yeah.
cap's probably going to go up another 40, 50 million within 2 years.
Seems like it. Yeah, about
I mean,
25 million a year.
Yeah, that's kind of the pace they're on at this point. So,
Mm-hmm.
especially once they start adding an 18th game and this, that, and the other, like, yeah,
Yeah.
he could easily be 50, 60 million.
Yeah. No, I think it's, quarterbacks are so hard to find, and the fact that they were able to move on from Tom Brady and find a Baker Mayfield, um, and have it work out the way it has. I don't think you could write a better script. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see if they fulfill their expectations as a Super Bowl team and all that stuff. But um, you know, they you have to have a guy, right? You have to have a quarterback. You have to have um, that franchise player, and more, I think these teams, if you're not drafting in the top 2, 3, 4, and don't have a shot at one of the elite college guys coming out, and that means you lost in a hell of a lot of games to do it, then the recyclables are starting to pay off. You're seeing it with Geno Smith. You're seeing it with a lot of quarterbacks in this league that are having second and sometimes third acts. Because you gain so much knowledge, and typically, if you're drafted high, and like Baker, you go to a terrible team, you struggle along, you maybe go through a bunch of coaching changes. He's on his 8th offensive coordinator. Hell, he's on his 3rd one in 3 years here in Tampa. And that will slow the progress of any player, much less a quarterback. So I think these guys that get these scars and sort of build up this thick skin, and the game, like Baker said the other day when you were talking to him, how the game has really slowed down for him, and now it's just a matter of execution and protecting the football, and doing some things at the next level to help his team win. And that might be relying on their defense a little bit more this year, especially early without, Tristan Wirfs in the lineup. So he's got it down. He's, pretty ingrained in this team. And, now he's got his money, which is cool. One thing that wasn't cool is some bad news. Some bad news for the Buccaneers. David Walker, their rookie linebacker from Central Arkansas. Man, they were so hyped for this kid, and rightfully so. He had done everything in the offseason to show them what they got in the 4th round. He tore his ACL. This happened the second day of practice on Friday. Didn't look like much, but you just don't know until you get in there with the MRI. So he's going to undergo season-ending surgery, and that's a shame because Walker was probably going to be in 4-man rotation, I'd say, at outside linebacker, maybe 5. Really had a chance to make a big impact early, and both said they were counting on him doing a lot of things, and so now they just have to have some guys step up. But it's bad. He stayed at Central Arkansas. He could have obviously transferred out of there with NIL and all the production he had, but he ended up being the defensive player of the year in the FBS. He had 10.5 sacks in 2024, and like I said, just really a bright prospect that now they got to wait a year and see how he comes back off this injury. So it means somebody else is going to have an opportunity to step up. It's just the way football is. It's next man up. One of the guys that needs to step up is Chris Braswell, and he's been looking great. And I asked Jason Light sort of like, what's the difference in Braswell? Did he gain weight? He goes, no, he's actually leaned out. And he played pretty well like the last half dozen or so games. He didn't have the sacks to show for it. A lot of pressures, and finished with 1.5 sacks on the year, which is not what you want out of your second rounder. But then get him going, and then, of course, Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby and such, Anthony Nelson, they'll have a pretty good rotation. But now some other guys will have an opportunity. So bad news, but you know what? They're just in pads one day. They're going to have a night practice tonight at the indoor facility, and then they're off on Wednesday. So I'm grateful to be out of this heat. My God, is it hot outside in Tampa, Florida?
120 was the heat index today in Tampa. I believe that tied a record.
Oh, my God.
So yesterday we had the 100-degree temperature, which was a record. But the heat index was only like 116-ish or something in that range. But today, 120.
I saw a couple of fire hydrants fighting over a dog. I mean, it was so hot. Yeah, no, it's walking on the sun out there anyway. And then the guys were in pads today, and there's no clouds. We're under this heat dome in the United States that's taken up most of the United States. And it might abate north of us a little bit, but I think here in Florida
we're not getting any abatement.
We're not getting any abatement. No, we're just going to get more heat. So goodness gracious, man, I hope these guys are smart, and it's one of the reasons why they're going inside. I mean, they do this about once a year in training camp. It's really they're having the sweet holders. These are your high heeled people. They don't want to sit outside in the middle of the sun during training camp, but we'll go inside and have some refreshments and watch the boys practice. So they're going to go inside and have a night practice and simulate sort of what the game day meetings would be and that sort of thing. But they're all going to be grateful for it. I think every coach is different. What I found is that, I mean, Todd Bowles doesn't like practicing indoors. he just, Bruce Arians used it a lot. Bruce Arians was a guy that felt like, get them out of the heat as much as you possibly can. Not for training camp, but even during training camp, they would have cool down periods where those guys would go inside and, and literally try to cool their bodies down in practice. But he used it during the year more. His thought was that, from August all the way through December, you're just getting beaten down by the heat time after time. But when you're on that turf, man, none of those players really like that turf. It's faster. Might make you look good. Kickers love it, but those offensive and defensive linemen, man, they stand around on that stuff. It starts to get to their legs, and they're worried about it gripping somebody's leg, and causing knee injuries and things like that. So they generally try to avoid having to go in there, except when there's inclement weather, which is huge, right? It was huge before they built it. They'd have to go to Tropicana Field or sit all night or all day, and try to practice later in the day because they don't have lights on their practice field, and they've gone to USF before. It was a pain in the butt. I can remember, and this to this day made no sense to me, and it didn't then either. When Lovie Smith came here, he decided to practice at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. for training camp, right? Like, are you kidding me? And it's like, well, you know what happens at like 3 p.m., right? You start getting the big thunderstorms every single day. And he's like, Rick, what time do we play, Rick? We play most of our games at 1 o'clock. We got to get used to the heat. Dude, it's plenty hot at 9:30, 10 a.m., right? Like plenty hot, but you don't typically get washed out. And they had a couple practices, man, where they were like, out on the practice field, lightning detector comes on, back inside, back outside, lightning detector, got to wait 30 more minutes. And this would go on and on sometimes for like 4 or 5 hours. Or they'd bus them to Tropicana or they'd bus them to USF. It was just a pain in the butt, like they were just kind of all over the map with that. But now I think they got it figured out. You practice early, they're on the field at 8:30, usually done by 10:30. Typically there's not a bunch of thunderstorms unless there's some weird pattern at that point. Still plenty of hot to get your work in, more than it needs to be now, of course. And then you got your rest of your day for meeting times, and the guys can get to bed, at a reasonable hour and get rest and do it again the next day. So I like this schedule. I love getting, the work done and the interviews done by like 12:30, because that gives us more time to write and whatnot. So, to each his own. But yeah, it's a shame that anybody has to get hurt, but it's really tough when you have a rookie who really never even got started. It just kind of happened right off the bat, and he only didn't get to get in pads or anything like that. But David Walker will be out for the rest of the year. All right, in a minute, we'll get to the Rays, who broke their 3-game losing streak in the Bronx, and that was exciting. But first, go see our friends at Brightling Boutique International Plaza Mall. You know where that is. If you haven't been there, go to the center of the mall, upstairs, second floor. That's where you're going to find Brightling Boutique. And the Brightling Company has been in business for over 140 years, making the best Swiss watches available anywhere. They've been at International Plaza Mall for more than 5 years, and the Brightling Boutique is where you're going to find men's and women's watches. The men's watches, the Navitimeters, the Chronomats. Women's watches are sports watches for your wife or your girlfriend. These things are durable. They're absolutely beautiful, and she can choose from an array of stunning colored wristbands. And while supplies last, and that's the key, if you're a sports fan, you have to take a look at this. They're celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different team watches. There's 32 teams in the NFL, hence 32 watches, either the Chronomat watches. They have the team's colors on the face of the watch, the logo inside. Check out TampaBay.com. You'll see a picture of the Buccaneers team watch at Brightling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Great customer service. When you get there, make sure you let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Well, the Rays broke their 3-game losing streak. They did it in the Bronx against the Yankees, who are without Aaron Judge. So be it. That's the way it goes sometimes. But some trade action starting to brew a little bit for the Rays right now.
Yeah. So and it was kind of weird because of the position
weird.
it is. It's a catcher.
Yeah.
But right before the game, apparently a deal for Danny Jansen to go to the Brewers was worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But the Rays, 1, didn't have another catcher in town. 2, don't have another catcher on the 40-man roster, I believe. So the trade wasn't official, or I don't even know if it is official as we're
wasn't
recording this
consummated
yet.
anyway, yeah.
But they were trading Jansen to the Brewers for a low-level prospect, a single-A prospect, apparently, who's pretty good. And then they're now making a trade to get a catcher from the Marlins. Flores, I believe is his name. I'm going off
Flores, I think you're right, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And for a minor league player. So basically swapping out Jansen for Flores. Assume they're upgrading prospects. Flores is, from what I've read, elite framer of pitches. Really good at that behind the plate. Better defensively than Jansen, who's like for framing, I believe Jansen's below average. And many think that he's hurt the Rays pitcher some this year.
It's interesting.
So and Jansen hasn't hit great. He's run into a few, but he's hitting
got
low
9 or 10 home runs or something like that. Yeah,
but low 200. So I guess if you want to upgrade that position on the fly, get a better defensive player that maybe can hit the same percentage, then it's probably a win for the Rays. So
yeah, he got off to a horrific start. I think that put him in such a hole to begin with. But you're right. He's had a little bit of power. Seems like a nice enough guy. I talked to him very early in the season, a couple games, one in particular that he won, but it was a struggle. I don't think they got the offense that they expected from him. And, he's a veteran, been in a lot of important games. I can see why another team would want him. He'd have value. And if the Rays can have enough to cover themselves, then, why not do it? I don't think they're done, though. I mean, Pete Fairbanks saved this game. With the Yankees tonight.
A rare 4-out save for him.
It was a 4-out save, and that last play, that ball was smoked to right center field, and so they managed to run it down for the final out. But
Johnny DeLuca, great job there.
Yeah, Johnny DeLuca back in business now, back playing center field, which is cool. But yeah, so you had to snap the losing streak. This is not a good road trip starting off with the losses in Cincinnati. They're in New York for 4.
Well, they took the 2-0 lead early with Caminero.
They did. Mm-hmm.
And then Rasmussen gave it right back up, and you're like, oh, not this again.
Yeah, you got to hold a lead there. Like Rasmussen, you worked so hard. They only scored 5 runs in Cincinnati for the entire 3-game series. So when you jump to a 2-0 lead, you don't want to turn around and give it back.
Yeah, and it was the next inning. I mean, that you want that shutdown inning after you score some runs.
Absolutely.
And, it could have been a lot worse, though. I mean, the bases loaded, and it could have gotten really ugly. But, kudos to Rasmussen, much like Shane Baz on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Gave up the 2 runs early and then held them the rest of the time. Shut them down.
Yeah.
And Rasmussen did the same thing, and the bullpen did as well. And the Rays were able to find some more offense and win 4-2.
Yeah, they've had some luck in the Bronx, and, they should be used to the stadium dimensions. They're exactly as they are at Steinbrenner Field, so probably they're home away from home a little bit up there. But that series will continue, and we'll find out by Thursday just what other deals they'll make. Look, I mean, here's, it all is based on what you're getting in return. I mean, that's how you judge any trade. I don't think you just trade players to trade players, but Jansen was supposed to be a big deal. There was a shot of I don't know if you saw it on the interweb, as the kids call it, but like Shane Baz was shagging fly balls in left field, and some Yankee fan held his phone up and showed where Jansen was being traded, and the look of disgust on Baz's face, man, is like, whoa. Because those pitchers, man, they get pretty tight with the catchers.
Oh, absolutely.
And
the trade is official now as we're recording this.
Okay.
Yep.
So he wasn't too happy about it. But, look, I think the candidates are what we think they are. It's going to be Pete Fairbanks. It's going to be Zach Littell.
Interesting with Fairbanks. Because Felix Bautista's hurt in Baltimore.
Hmm.
Emmanuel Clase is now suspended in Cleveland or pending a gambling investigation. Their second pitcher this year.
Oh, wow.
The closer market is shrinking.
Okay.
And if you've got a closer you're willing to
Your
trade,
value's way up now.
you might be able to get more than what you could have gotten just 2 or 3 days ago
Wow, that's interesting.
for Fairbanks. So, don't know what Eric Neander's going to do. And we can
Right.
talk about I mean, and this is a crazy story. Another pitcher from Cleveland. What did I sent you some of the stats, but
Was that the first pitch thing where the guy's spiking balls all over the place?
First pitch of the 9th inning.
Yeah.
He has a 17% non-competitive pitch, which means you didn't miss, like you missed bad.
Yeah, it's like 45-foot fastballs.
Yes.
Yeah.
All other pitches, it's at 5%.
Right.
And it's all about prop bets of, is the first pitch going to be a ball? And that's what their starting pitcher, Ortiz, is been out for about a month now as they're investigating.
You got suspended for the same thing, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's all suspended for an investigation. They're not officially suspended, but you can't play while they're investigating this.
Yeah.
But Clase was one who possibly could have been moved this trade deadline.
Well, and I mean, here's the thing: like with prop bets and things like that. First of all, the wise guys don't want to lose money either. Okay, the people in Vegas that make those available to others to bet on, and so when they see a bunch of irregularities and they see money coming in for a prop bet like that, and then you go back and watch the tape and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? They're going to, as much as baseball, Major League Baseball, they're going to like protect the integrity of the sport. Otherwise, people won't gamble on it and feel like it's that it's fixed. So there's integrity of the game clauses and things like that for every sport. But man,
I'm sure from a player's perspective, it's kind of like, well, who cares if I throw a ball the first pitch? Like, I'm going to battle them. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying from their mindset of...
No, it's an easy mark. I mean, it's really kind of easy. It's like, I'm going to still compete and try to get the guy out. But one ball, and the first pitch is not going to change the game or the scoreboard, Like
I wonder if you could do this now. I mean, I'm not advocating cheating or, throwing stuff, but instead of throwing a bad pitch, just take a pitch clock violation.
Just be slow to the plate. Yeah. Right.
Just throw it right after it hits 0.
There you go.
There's ball 1. Like,
it's just the clock
now
in my head.
I didn't throw a bad pitch. What can you investigate?
Well, yeah, except that your first pitch is always a clock violation. Perhaps that would be obvious after a while. I don't know. But yeah, it's the tape is not good, and for a major league pitcher to miss as much as they did. I mean, I'll say this: they were not going to throw a strike. It was not going to be close. They did not trust themselves enough to throw it up there in the air for the most part. So that's just, I think. We've talked about this a little before when the last investigation happened with a Cleveland pitcher, but like, man, that's so scary. And I think the accessibility of, the betting apps and it's a cardinal sin in any sport, but, man, time, money, circumstance.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, so I give him a ball up. I'm not throwing a game. I'm not giving him in. I didn't walk a guy intentionally. I didn't give up a hit. I didn't put one right down the center. Like, I took a ball. I do. Sometimes I spike a ball anyway in the middle of a at bat because you're up 0-2.
Right.
Spike one, see if they'll swing. Like, so what's the difference if I do it on pitch 1? I mean, I'm not justifying it, but in
their minds, they
I'm not
probably rationalize that. Yeah.
I'm not adjusting the outcome of a game. It's one pitch.
Right. But the reality is that if you get yourself in that situation to where you really compromise your performance because you need to, whether it's you need to win the money or you're behind, and you probably have a bad gambling habit, and then you're one step from throwing something to get out of trouble. That now you're compromised, and now no one can believe your performance, good or bad. So it's just it's a slippery slope, and we all know that. But man, when you watch the video, it's just like, whoa, like what is going on here with this every first pitch. But that's a weird one. That's a really weird one.
Two more baseball things on the trade deadline. So the Tigers apparently are after Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks, third baseman.
Okay.
And the Diamondbacks are in Detroit right now, started a series tonight.
Woo, that's going to be
And
awkward.
so the Tigers are trying to, I mean, the reports are they're trying to get the deal done before he leaves town. Like, just, you're here, don't leave.
Take him with us. Yeah.
So what did the Tigers do tonight? Hit him on the hand.
Are you kidding me? Really?
I'm not kidding you. X-rays were negative. I think he's going to be okay. But
Was that intentional?
No, it wasn't intentional. But, if you're the
That'll
Tigers,
hurt
brass, you're like, what are you doing?
It'll hurt your value a little bit, won't it? Damage the one asset you want. The Tigers have had the damnedest season. Like a minute ago, they had the best record in baseball, and then they lost like 12 in a row.
12 out of
something.
13, yep.
Yeah, it was insane. Just a terrible losing streak. But, wow, that's something. It was awkward watching Jansen, knowing that everybody, know he was going to be traded, and he's just sitting there in the dugout talking to Cash.
He had to be there. Yeah, they didn't. The trade didn't. Wasn't completed.
Wasn't official.
Because
yeah,
the Rays needed a backup catcher in case. Like, he was supposed to start. They took him out of the lineup, and Theis came in.
Right, but if something had happened and he had to play,
Yeah.
they had to keep him on the roster.
I mean, they weren't going to use him unless Theis got hurt. I mean, basically.
But you're dead man walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what is the conversation in the dugout at that point? I guess they've all been traded, or many players have been traded before. I don't know if he has or not, but
he's
he
a
certainly
veteran.
played
He's
for
been
a lot
around
of
enough.
teams.
And,
He's one name though that I didn't hear. When people were throwing up Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz, would they trade Yandy? Yandy's 34. But I could see a team that maybe is a little lacking in offense could use a right-handed DH. I could
the
see
Red Sox.
team,
The Red Sox are the ones that have been tied the most to him. They would like a right-handed hitting first baseman.
Right.
They would want him to play first some, too, not just DH.
Well, he could do that. And you get the Green Monster, I could see that. I think Yandy would help any team in the postseason. He'd help this team if they could get there, but doesn't look like necessarily they're going to.
It sounded like the Yankees have talked about Caballero, Ha-Seong Kim, and Taylor Walls. Explored all those.
Because their defense is not very good.
Well, and they're just looking for utility-type players.
Yeah.
Players that can play a lot of different positions in the infield.
Right.
All three of those guys can play all over.
Yeah.
Kim's more second short, but Taylor Walls obviously can play them all. Caballero's played them all.
Yeah,
Caballero plays the outfield as well. So
Kim is injured. Caballero can steal bases. You'd hate to see him lose Taylor Walls, but he's really a defensive specialist more than he is anything else, although he swung a better bat the second half. But it's interesting. Interesting time for the Rays because they don't really feel like they're in it to me at all. They got these 3 games in New York, and then they got to come home and play the Dodgers. I'm going to one of those Dodger games, by the way. My son's going to be in town.
Nice.
So I'm going to go Friday night. You know what those tickets are going for?
A lot.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 8 home games in the month of August, and there was only 8 in July. So,
well, and consider who's coming,
and
right?
Then it's the opponent as well. So,
yeah, you get to go see Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers, and a 200 level seat. There's only 200 levels, right? There's 1 or 2.
Yep.
Because it's a minor league ballpark, and it holds just under 11,000. But I think yesterday when I looked, a 200 level seat was going for $200 each. And if you want to be in that one row in the outfield and left field or something like that, it was like $100 a seat. Which is a lot for one game on a Friday night. But we're gonna do it, man.
Nice. Well, hopefully Ohtani pitches.
Yeah. Is he back on the mound again?
Oh yeah. He's not pitching. Like 7-8 innings.
Spot innings, right? Like
no, he's starting, but he's pitching like he's up to 3 or 4 innings.
Oh, okay. So they're building him up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Well, that would be great. Shoot.
But
that's what.
But the Rays, and they're a game above 500 now.
Yep.
And Andy Fried was on DAE this afternoon talking about this, and they're in a horrific stretch right now. They snapped a 4-game losing streak Monday night, which is good. You can win again tonight. You kind of get on a roll a little bit, but this team did go 25-9 over a long stretch. Like it was basically the same group. Brendan Lau is hurt right now, but they're capable of putting on a run again. Now, you don't have to go 25-9 to make.
I was going to say, do you have 2 of those in the same season?
But they're only 3 games out of a while. I mean, with 3 wild cards, you don't have to be at 95, 96 wins to get in. 88 may do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be. You don't need a 25-9 stretch. You got to play better than you're playing now. I mean, there's no guarantee they can do that, but you're not out of it. But you got to play better. Now the pitching's been better of late. They haven't been hitting at all. You scored 5 runs,
5
whole
runs in
series
3
Cincinnati.
games in Cincinnati.
You scored 4 tonight. That's better.
Right.
I mean, the pitching's been really good of late. Actually, I mean, the bullpen for a while was giving everything up.
Right.
That's been much better now. Now they're just not hitting. But if they can put a run together, you take 8 out of 10. Okay, now all of a sudden you're right back probably at the third wild card or just a game out of it.
The problem is you're running out of time.
You are.
I'm not saying you can't do it, but you got to make a decision by Thursday what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that. And chances are, look, they made the deal for Jansen. Is it going to kill their ball club? No. He's batting 200. I don't know what kind of defensive catcher they're getting. One of those guys from the Marlins can't throw anybody out. I don't know if that's.
I think they're getting the other. I think they're getting the other guy.
Okay, good, because their starter was terrible. But it doesn't kill you, to lose a Danny Jansen. I mean, let's see what else they do. You start plucking Yandy out. Well, there's an intangible leader right there, and one of their best hitters. If they trade him, Brandon Lau has been injured. I don't know that Brandon Lau is going to have a ton of value unless some team is convinced he's going to be just fine.
Well, he's supposed to be activated Wednesday.
All right. Well, that'll help.
It doesn't mean he's 100%. Doesn't mean, we'll see how he does. They were hopeful it would be minimal. It sounds like he will be activated Wednesday.
Now, if he goes out there and looks like he can swing the bat, then, somebody might take a nibble on him. But, they've not been the same lineup without him. That's the bottom line. And so if you trade him, you're not making your team better, but you can almost dress it up as if, we're still in it. We got enough pieces, we got some prospects, and, we replace guys with guys. And
well, the good thing is for the Rays is that, one, I think trading Danny Jansen and getting the catcher you're getting, you're getting a better defensive catcher, particularly to help pitchers with framing and that, and get some more strike calls. Jansen, like I said, ran into a few, but wasn't knocking the socks off the ball. So, I don't think that's not okay. They're selling. That was, hey, we have a chance to get a good prospect back, and we can get a better defensive catcher. Okay. If they make moves trading Fairbanks or Yandy or Lau, all who have options next year at reasonable prices, not really high where, Tyler Glasnow was going to also make $25 million. You knew they were trading him. These guys are in the $10 to $12 million range, all these options. Reasonable price. If they start trading those guys, then they're signaling.
Well, that's what
they don't think they can make the playoffs.
And the clubhouse.
This move isn't that move.
Right, but the clubhouse will feel that, and they'll know that, and then they'll feel like they've been given up on, and that changes the psyche of everybody.
Yes, it does.
So they'll battle like hell these next 2 days, to try to convince ownership. And the other thing is, too, I don't think it matters because they're running the club with whoever's in charge right now because Stuart Sternberg still owns the team. But if I'm about to buy an asset, do I have any say in this? I guess I'm going to trust the baseball guys they already employ according to the new owners or what's been stated. But
so if you want to keep the front office group, I don't think the owner's telling them a damn thing.
Right.
I mean, before you even own the team, you're trying to get involved in this stuff. What do you think that front office is going to do? Look for another job?
Well, there's already talk that Washington wants to blow away Neander with some offer.
Well, yeah, that may happen. Absolutely. Now, I have no idea what his contract is. No, but with the race with the new owner standing in the way, all that stuff. Who knows?
Well, if he tied it to Sternberg owning the team, he'd be. It's kind of like the Joe Madden. I don't know that, but like Joe Madden, if Andrew Friedman left, he had an out.
Right, and nobody knew that at the time until it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what anybody's deal is.
Right.
They don't make that stuff public, so
yeah.
But I don't think the new owner has. I don't think he's saying a word or has any input. And nor should
no, probably not. It's not his team, so it's until it's sold, it's not sold.
The Rays front office has done well for a decade plus.
Oh yeah.
Why are you going to meddle with it in the middle of this season? You wouldn't. If anything, he's working on anything now, it should be a stadium, not trades for the Rays at the trade deadline.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they're going to try to split the baby in half and make the deals that makes them better now and in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Sell it that way to your clubhouse.
Yep.
And continue on. Like you said, maybe they do get hot. Maybe they take 3 out of 4 against the Yankees and come home and win a series against the Dodgers. And Dodgers haven't been playing all that great of late, so they have a chance to take a couple games there. You just don't know. As a good friend of Ronnie Lane says, that's baseball. So
by the
let
way,
it play
happy
out.
birthday, Ronnie Lane. That Monday
How
was
about
his
that?
birthday.
Yeah, 85. I can't believe
85. I thought it was 95.
how time flies.
Oh, just kidding.
I know. No, but happy birthday to Ronnie Lane. Yeah. Well, we wait. We wait as we usually do to see if the Rays are going to, make their run and grab that highly coveted last wild card that's been added to the repertoire here, which is a 2 out of 3 on the road, isn't it? Isn't that what you get?
Yes. The last wild card, and you would play the third place division winner.
Yeah.
So currently, you would be playing Houston.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you only got to win 2 out of 3. Teams go on the road and do that all the time. Texas came here and did it to them.
But as much as you say, so there are 3 games back of the wild card, or actually 2.5, but Seattle, Texas are still playing.
Right.
They're only 3.5 out of the first wild card spot.
Right. Which is much preferred.
Well, you get home games there instead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like, look, the division's probably lost at this point. You're 10 games back.
Yeah,
Toronto,
I think so.
who's, all of a sudden they're, 20 games over, 19 games over 500.
Who saw them win in this division, by the way?
I didn't.
In a runaway at that.
Yeah. I mean, they're, how many games up are they now? In the division? They've
9.
lost 2 in a row. They're 5.5 up on the Yankees. 9 up
5.5? Oh, okay.
Yeah, 9 on the Rays, 5.5 on the Yankees. So.
I got you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, not all is lost, but they've kind of separated here of late. So yeah, if you could get the first wild card, I mean, look, it's not inconceivable. It's just the schedule. When the more I thought about it, the more I think about it all the time. Like right now, okay, they did it ostensibly because it's really hot in Florida this time of year, but it's hot everywhere, right? But more importantly, we typically get a ton of rain. We get a ton of rain in July, early August, in the afternoons, late afternoons, 4:00 through 7:30 or so. And so they didn't want the delays, the rainouts, all of that, and the heat. And so they basically retrofitted their schedules so that it was backloaded with road games. But that's kind of an unfair situation, to be honest with you. Ask a team to go play 19 out of 22 on the road, in the hottest months of the year, and the 3 you got at home are against the Dodgers. I mean, how is that remotely fair? And I know it's not baseball's fault the roof blew off the damn Trop, but boy, talk about it punitive and punishing a team. They were talking a couple weeks ago about whether or not they were going to let them play their playoff games in Steinbrenner to begin with, which they, I guess, as soon as they fell out of the wild card, they said, yeah, go ahead. Play it all the way through the World Series, man, if you make it. But, it's just been a really tough year. I thought they would be invigorated, and it's kind of done the opposite of that. I think it's worn on them at this point.
I think it did invigorate them, but I think they're tired. Andy Fried mentioned today too. He says, particularly Caminero and Aranda. He said they just look tired. Yeah, and this is their first kind of full season in the big leagues. Now, I mean, they've played minor league seasons, whatever else, but in the big leagues, and they went to the All-Star game. And so they didn't get the break. You didn't even get that break there. Like, and Caminero was in the home run derby, and just looks tired. And they just need to get their second wind at some point, and presumably they will. And athletes generally do. Well, but how quickly that second wind comes, or and perhaps Eric Neander surprises everyone and goes out and acquires somebody, gets a bullpen arm or another bat somewhere, and instead of selling, acquires, and that could rejuvenate this team too. You never
Oh,
know.
look, you get Brandon Lau back in the lineup. If he swings the bat the way he was this season, then that's going to rejuvenate a lot of things.
Yep.
And Caminero loves the big moment. He goes to Yankee Stadium. There's 30-something thousand people there. And what does he do? First time up, he knocks one a mile high and a mile long, and he hits a home run. And he loves playing in front of big stages like New York and other places.
Yep.
So
As
maybe
much
he
as
catches
we
second one.
talked about before the season that we didn't think they had enough offense, but you look at the lineup of Simpson, Yandy, or Bilal,
Josh
whichever.
Lowe,
maybe it's so Simpson, Bilal, Yandy, Aranda, Caminero. Pick the order of the five. They rotate the order, but
and then Josh Lowe.
That's a really good. He's underperformed this year, and if he could ever get back to where he was 2 years ago,
Right.
But those first five, that's a formidable lineup.
Yeah.
Like
no, and
it,
they were hitting the ball before they weren't.
Yep.
Before things started leaking oil out there, and I think the biggest thing was Brandon getting hurt. It just kind of took the balance out of that lineup a little bit, and he was hitting some enormous, like, not just the home runs, but when he hit them,
Yep.
when he hit them was big. He had some big moments, and looked like he was going to stay healthy this year, and then he wasn't. Now, if he comes back and he can swing it the way he was swinging it, they could start putting up 5 runs a game again, and that makes your starting pitching better and makes your bullpen not have to face as many high leverage situations. So it can turn. I'm not saying it can't. It just doesn't. They're going to have to. I think. Is there time? Let's see what they do the next 2 nights out against the Yankees. Let's see what they do. And some of those deals may be done or waiting to be done, or I don't know what they're waiting on. But if the Rays had played better in Cincinnati, if they had taken that series and then split against the Yankees or won the Yankee series, I think there'd be no question that they might be a team that was adding players. It's a tough call.
Yeah. You win the next 2 over the Yankees, and you're a game and a half back behind them. And they're in the first wild card right now.
You feel pretty good about life, I think.
Right. Now, you lose the next 2, and now instead of 3.5 back, you're 5.5 back.
But they could do it because the Yankees haven't played good baseball, and now they don't have Aaron Judge, and you can't tell me that they're remotely the same team without him.
Yep. Now tonight you get Max Fried, their best pitcher.
He owns him.
Yep. Yeah, but you got Joe Boyle going on the mound, and I'm curious. I'm excited to see him start.
Yeah. Joe's got toss 100 up there whenever he wants to.
He's got to fill the zone because when he throws it in the zone, they can't hit it.
No.
When he starts walking guys, which has been his problem throughout the minors, is when he loses control of the strike zone. But if he can stay in the strike zone and fill it up, then could be a great game tonight. Good pitcher stool.
Yeah. Well, we'll wrap it up with this. It's sad news, but Ryne Sandberg passed away, Chicago Cubs all-star second baseman, which is, tragic, obviously. I think it was cancer. I'm not sure, but
it was, He'd been battling that for a while.
Yeah, and I will say this. I mean, you talk about fan favorites now. The Cubs and their superstation and the heyday when I was a grown-ass man and watching these things, but that was fun, right? Harry Carey and Steve Stone when the Cubs were winning and they had the Hawk, they had Andre Dawson and Ryne Sandberg and all those characters on those teams. Man, that was fun.
It was, and Sandberg was a great second baseman, but I will always argue this, that he should have never won a Gold Glove, though. He had absolutely no range at second base.
Was that given to him because he was such a good hitter? I mean,
everything hit to him. He fielded cleanly and was great. But Jose Lean to the Pirates was a much better second baseman of that era. But he would make errors on diving plays,
Yeah.
I mean, Sandberg's a tremendous player. Like I said, everything you hit to him, he fielded cleanly. He had less range than Derek Jeter at the end of his career. I mean, it was that he never had any range. But great hitter, great player. Sad to see that he passed away. I think it was 65.
Yeah, 65 years old.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty young. Hi, here's Ryne Sandberg. I just used to love that era, man. It was fun for Cubs baseball. The Superstation,
Oh yeah. TBS was the Superstation, but then you had WGN.
Yeah,
for the
GN.
Cubs.
You know, those are the two teams you watched all the
Yep.
time.
That was the only time you could watch baseball all the time.
If you had cable TV, they were the only ones on every night.
My kids are so spoiled because they're always like, every game is on all the time.
know,
Like
it's
you
like,
you
that
never miss
never
it.
happened.
Like as a kid, like some of the games were never televised.
Right. No,
Like-
it was the game. Look, it was grown when I'm much older than you, but like growing up, it was the game of the week. It was Saturday afternoon. That's all you got.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got. Then they came up with Monday night baseball after a while, but that took years and years. But it was Tony Gubek and Joe Garagiola, and I can remember if I had some little league game or some game at night, because we had lights at our field at Azalea Little League, and I could watch the afternoon game, the game of the week. And This Week in Baseball with Mel Allen would come on before it, it would just be like, I get so hyped to play my game. I'd already watched and played 3 games in the living room before I ever got to the Little League field.
Yep.
And I guess, I don't know. I think we've reached a saturation point with sports at this level. I mean, and then the Braves, after it was obviously, you had the Cubs and you had the Braves, and eventually I think the Mets were on for a while on some stations, but I think we're doing this with football now because there's a game on Monday night, Thursday night, Saturday, whatever. But it was special. We used to have to listen to baseball. We didn't have a baseball team till '98 down here. The closest one were the Atlanta Braves, and it was Hank Aaron, and it was radio. And the Reds were broadcast on WFLA, because they trained in Tampa. And so you listen to games, you go in. Sneak the radio in, close by you, the old transistor when you're supposed to be asleep, and listen to a ball game late into the night, because we didn't have a team, and so that's what you did. So that I kind of romanticize those days. I think now it's just we take for granted, like you said, your kids are like, well, the Rays are on again.
So I laugh about my kids. So this was 5-6 years ago, and my kid was playing, I think, 6U baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had won his playoff game on Monday night, and it was going to be in the championship. And so Tuesday night, there's a game going on, and we're eating dinner. My son's like, well, can't we watch the game? I'm like, no, they don't stream Little League games. Fast forward now, every single Little League game is streamed.
What?
There's an app called There's an app called Game Changer, which everyone uses to score the games. But you could put your cell phone on the fence and stream, and everybody.
No way. Is that true?
Oh, I kid. So all my kids' baseball games, like if my wife is with my other son at soccer or whatever, she can watch it on her phone the whole time. It's one camera, cell phone behind the bench. But every single youth game is now live streamed, and everybody.
Oh my God, that is wild.
Yeah,
that is
it's
so
incredible.
Wild.
Like we made fun of my son a couple years ago. Now it's true. We're like, geez.
Yeesh. Wow.
But the scary part is, so you put the cell phones behind home plate. You buy a device to mount it there. But the mic's wide open, so anyone standing behind the plate, you can hear everything they say.
Hey, get off your knees, blah blah blah.
But some parents are ripping other kids and stuff, and you can hear.
Oh God!
And it's like, it's like not good.
Yeah, Johnny should be an all-star. He should be pitching and look the coach's son. Yeah, that's not good.
But every single Little League game from T-ball is live streamed now because everybody uses this app called Game Changer.
Look, everybody has a phone, and now our kids' lives. We live in a generation where our children's lives are on video from cradle to grave. It's the first generation that's going to have to deal with that, and not in a good way, I might add. Not everything is good about that for sure. Anyway, the Bucs will be practicing at night tonight. The Rays will continue their series against the Yankees. What else we got going on? That should be enough, I think.
Night practice, Rays. We'll see if any trades happen.
Right. Trade deadline Thursday, so keep you latest up to date on all of that. Check out TampaBay.com, Tampa Bay Times, for updates on the Bucs. For the Rays, go see our friends at Brightling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Check out the NFL Watches 104th year anniversary being celebrated. 32 teams, 32 team watches while supplies last at Brightling Boutique. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day.